All right, I am going to go ahead and take roll, everyone. This is Ashley Beccaro from the Office of Charter Schools. Happy Tuesday. Jeanette Butterworth. Joel Ford. Friend.
Present.
Rita Hare.
Here.
Lynn Kroger.
Good morning. Here.
Hilda Parlay.
Present.
Sherry Reeves. She might be, I'm sure she'll be on in a second. Cheryl Turner.
Here.
Heather Van Cannon.
Present.
And Alex Quigley.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. So let's see.
Great. All right. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Bruce, could you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, be glad to. Thank you, Alex. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Our mission statement on the Charter Schools Advisory Board is to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. And our ethics statement. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts as we handle the work of this advisory board. Does any member of the advisory board know of any conflict or interest or appearance of conflict with the matters coming before us today?
Mr. Chairman, this is Bruce Friend. I know we're having our discussion on renewals today. I will participate in the discussion with, unless it deals with Pine Springs Preparatory Academy, and then I will have, I will step away from any discussions around that.
Yes, and I will be recusing from discussion and voting on Healthy Start Academy.
Mr. Chair, this is Rita Hare. I would like to recuse myself from discussion on coastal prep.
And Mr. Chair, Hilda Parlay recuses from any National Heritage Academy schools.
All right. Ashley, do you have the recusals noted for when we vote?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, great. So if during the meeting you have become aware of an actual apparent of conflict, please bring it to my attention. And you know the drill, abstain from voting and discussion. Great. So just looking at the agenda today, we're very excited to hear from Superintendent Truitt. In just a minute, we will then go into renewals, 2 charter application interviews today, Oakville and Wayne STEM. And then we'll hear director updates from Mr. Machado and adjourn for the day. Any discussion on today's agenda? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved. Heather Van Cannon.
And Hilda Parlay seconds.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Welcome, Superintendent Truitt. I'm not sure. Let's see. Ashley, was she able to join?
Let's see. Ms. Truitt, are you on the line? She might not be here yet.
All right. Well, we are 1 minute ahead of schedule.
Yeah. I will note for the minutes that I have noted Joel Ford and Sherry Reeves are present.
Excellent. Great. Dave, do you want to give a lot of updates, or do you want to tackle those while we wait for Superintendent Truitt?
Yeah, Chairman Quigley, I certainly can But before we start, if the Charter School Advisory Board would be so kind, about 2 weeks ago, we lost another teacher in our charter school community. We lost a very loved teacher and coach at Lincoln Charter School. His name was Jamie Seitz. I actually hired Jamie and knew him very well. And if the board would not mind, I'd like to have us do a moment of silence to remember the hard work that he did and the fine person that he was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll take a moment of silence to remember Jamie Sykes, the teacher at Lincoln Charter. Okay, thank you, board members, and appreciate it, Dave. Thank you for reminding me. I don't yet see Superintendent Truitt, so Dave, we can.
Chairman.
Yes.
Chairman Quigley, you there? Hey, this is Jamie Falkenberry.
Hey.
Superintendent Truitt. Hey, Superintendent Truitt. I think they called a council state meeting this morning.
Oh.
So she might be stuck in that. I think she might have sent a note to staff, but I don't know if they got it so last minute. So I don't know if she'll be able to get on before this meeting closes, but she'd like to maybe come on next time.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Very important matters to attend to. Great. So hopefully we'll hear from her at some point. So that we'll be able to get ahead on the agenda. So I'll pass it on. Dave, why don't you go ahead and do your updates, and then we don't have to do those at the end of the meeting, and then we can pick it up with our renewals.
Sure. Appreciate the time. As far as State Board of Ed updates, at their last meeting last week, they approved Wake Prep's request for a second delay. They approved the revocation of SEMA's charter, and we will start that closure process immediately. They approved the accelerated applications for both Faith Charter Academy and Old Maiden Stream. They have tabled SABA application until legal can give us an opinion on the single gender school issue that was brought up 2 meetings ago. They approved the Expedition's request for a weighted lottery and Sterling Montessori's amendment for their mission statement. They discussed Aristotle Preps Academy's request to partner with a management company, and they will vote on that at their February meeting. As far as OCS updates, we continue to stay extremely busy. I want to talk a little bit about our NC Access updates first. Letters of intent for the next cohort are due on January 15th. Through the NC Access, we are now offering monthly professional development for all charter schools, which we really appreciate that NC Access team reaching out to all of our charter schools. The first one is actually starting today, and every month there will be a PD. The one today is on virtual learning, so it should be very interesting. Our first cohort of Inspiring Minority Leaders has started. We have, I believe, 15 students that have enrolled at Appalachian State University to get further their education and become strong charter leaders. The next Fellows Institute is January 21st. And believe it or not, we have started with Dr. Cooper, the 2022 renewal cohort. And we also have our ready to open, I believe it's our 3rd session next week, led by Claire Porter. And that's a quick update, Chairman Quigley.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Director Machado? All right, great. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl Turner, who's going to facilitate the renewal discussion with, I believe, Bruce, and I don't know if Jeanette is here today, but I believe Bruce and Jeanette are going to assist as well.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Quigley. For some reason, my camera is showing only willing to show my ceiling, so I'll just turn it off. I guess the way we start, let's start with the 10 years. Ashley, can you show me the list? Oh, or does Shonda need to do her thing first?
Well, if you scroll down, what's being projected today is for discussion for your leading the discussion. So all the schools are there in order for you.
Okay, aren't we supposed to vote today too?
Today, yes, you make your recommendations.
Okay. All right, so let's start with the ones that have been recommended for 10 years. All right, so is there any place where there's just a list?
Would it be helpful for you if I call the schools out to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, I can do that.
All right. So all of the schools that have been recommended for 10-year are schools that statutorily are required to get 10 years. Are there any of those schools that you particularly want to discuss? Since they're statutorily, it's pretty much a done deal.
And I can call the list out now if you would like.
Okay, would you do that, please?
Sure. So starting with the Hawbridge School, Global Scholars Academy, Mallard Creek STEM Academy, Matthews Charter Academy, Peak Charter Academy, Pine Springs Preparatory Academy. Those are your 10-year schools.
Thank you. Does anybody have any discussion on any of those schools? Hearing none, can I get a motion, please?
Ms. Turner, since these schools all meet the statutory requirements, I move that the Hallbridge School, Global Scholars Academy, Mallard Creek STEM, Matthews Charter Academy, Peak Charter Academy, and Pine Springs Preparatory Academy be granted another 10-year charter.
This is Rita Hare. I second that motion.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ashley, could you please take the roll?
Yes. Jeanette Butterworth. Joel Ford.
Aye.
Bruce, I have you as recused. Rita Hare.
Aye.
Lynn Kroger.
Aye.
Hilda Parlay.
I'm recusing from Matthews and Peak.
Oh, okay. Got you recused. Sherry Reeves.
Aye.
Cheryl Turner.
Aye.
Heather Van Cannon.
Aye.
And Alex Quigley.
Aye.
All right, it passes.
Okay, Dr. Cooper, could you tell us the 7-year schools?
Absolutely. So for 7-year schools, we have Healthy Start Academy, Union Preparatory Academy at Indian Trail, and Central Wake High School.
Thank you. These are the schools that we heard from yesterday. Is there any discussion about any of these schools?
Yeah, Ms. Turner, this is Mr. Friend. I guess I'll bring this up at this point. I think the thoughts I want to share here, I think apply to more than just these schools. But first, I want to say specifically with all 3 of these schools yesterday that presented to us, if they're listening in right now, I was very impressed with all 3 in terms of the presentation and the work they're doing. I'm left the question, and not question like second guessing. I think that the Office Charter Schools have done phenomenal work, and Dr. Cooper has done an amazing job in a very difficult year with all of these renewals. But I do wonder, as I take a step back and through this whole process, if the only thing keeping a school from getting a recommendation for, say, in this case, in these 3 schools, a 10-year, or at the bottom, your 3 years instead of 5, if the only thing keeping them from getting that higher number is the academic performance based upon test scores that we don't have because of COVID, If they're in financial compliance, they meet all other compliance issues, and the only thing missing is the test date. I just wonder if we wouldn't consider them up. In this case, I guess they're helping start it up to 10 years. And I would be saying the same thing as the other schools as well. I mean, not ahead, but I will when we get the 3-year renewals. You know, we know there was no data for 2019, 2020. If we have test data this year, will it even be counted, and how valid really is it? You know, we'd be asking these schools to come back in 3 years, and they really will only have, if my math is correct, 1 or 2 years more data than what we have now, and would be missing data out of 2 out of 4 years. So I bring this up now because I think it applies to some of the schools that are in the 7-year recommendation, that if there is no financial issues, if there's no compliance issues, there is this kind of spirit right now, which I think is appropriate, that we're holding schools harmless. We held schools harmless with our FTE, not just charter schools, but traditional publics because of COVID. Again, is there the appetite, and could we consider bumping them up to the next renewal term?
I'd be open to that if there's only 1 year of data standing between them and the next thing. So if they met the requirements if the requirement is 2 out of 3, and they met 2, well, if they met 2 out of 3, they'd already have it. If they met 1, I guess what I don't want to do is assume that schools that didn't qualify for the next thing up would have qualified when we have no history that suggests that might be the case. I don't think that's the case with these 7-year schools, but that could be the case with some of the 3.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation.
And just for clarity, or so everyone's on the same page, all 3 of these schools were clear as far as they had no financial non-compliance nor governance non-compliance on the table.
This is Rita Hare. A question regarding Central Wake. I too was impressed and really appreciated their presentation yesterday. But I wondered, were they always in the 7-year category, or have they already been bumped up, being an alternative school? And how new are they? What year were they formed?
So this is their first renewal. They've been open now for 5 years. They were put into the 7-year category because the sister schools received 7 years, 2 years prior. So that's the main reason for them falling there. There are some differences between the schools, but it's pretty consistent in what their purpose is and their percentage of intake and maintaining.
Wasn't the issue though that the state board dropped them back to 7? We approved 10 on the sister schools, but the state board dropped them back to 7?
That's correct.
I'm good with 7 years.
I would suspect they're not going to be open to 10 again. If the last time we approved 10, they made it 7, I suspect they're not going to be open to 10 for this one.
Yes, and I think that 7 is appropriate for Central Wake. On the high side, just the nature of what they do, it would be good to have that renewal in a 7-year period. So I wasn't looking to increase it. Thank you.
So kind of what I think I'm hearing is that we would be open to a 10-year for Indian Trail and for Healthy Start, and 7-year for Central Wake. If that is the pleasure of the board, can somebody please make a motion?
Cheryl, I'll make that motion. Make the motion that we give Union Prep at Indian Trail and Healthy Start Academy a 10-year renewal, and Central Wake Charter High a 7-year renewal.
And this is Bruce. I'll second that motion.
Having been properly moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ashley, could you please take the roll?
Yes. Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Van Cannon, Heather?
Aye.
Okay. And Alex, I have you as recused. All right, it passes.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go to the 5-year. Dr. Cooper, of these 5-year schools, are there any in this group where the only thing that kept them from being a 7 was that they did not have a 3rd year of data?
There was one school that really just didn't have Unity Classical Charter. Because of the way that they onboarded their grade levels, they didn't have any performance data really to look at. So the last year that they had data, they were performance grade C. And just based on seeing what they're doing at the school, they're definitely going the right direction, but they didn't have any data to report.
How many years of data do they have?
1 year. And that was for the 18-19 year.
But I don't think we can call that a trend.
No, we would need at least 2 years to see a trajectory, preferably 3. But that would be for schools that are much older, I guess, but they don't have enough data.
Anybody else who qualified except for the 3rd year data? Like I'm looking at Gate City, didn't they have 2? Met or exceeded?
They did, but they had a not met in the 1st year, which, you know, it depends on how you want to look at a trend or trajectory. Exceeded was the year was 17-18, and then they met in 18-19. So they were pretty solid in that spot. But just looking at all the numbers.
We may need to go school by school with these.
Okay. So do you want to start with Fernleaf?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go to the top.
Okay. So Fernleaf Community Charter School is the first of 5 years to discuss.
Okay, so it looks like they were not met, not met.
Right.
So they really do fit into a 5 year.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion on this school?
I agree with that, Chairman Cheryl. I think there's some underperformance occurring there, and 5 years would be an appropriate renewal.
Okay, let's go on to, do you want to vote on each one as we go since we're talking about this at this point, or do you want to come back to it? Let's do each one as we go since we're talking about them now. Can I get a motion on Fernleaf, please?
This is Bruce. I'll make a motion that we give Fernleaf Community Charter a 5-year renewal.
Mr. President, go ahead.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Fernleaf Community Charter School receives a 5-year renewal. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Ashley, would you please take the roll?
Yes. All right, Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Van Cannon,
I think we found Heather.
yeah. And Alex Quigley.
Aye.
Okay, it passed.
Okay, Dr. Cooper, let's go to the next one.
Concord Lake STEAM Academy.
Okay, they were met and exceeded, but in their most recent year, they were not met.
Right.
So I don't think that's, I think that's a wait and see what happens next. Any other opinion on that?
I concur with that. They had a significant drop in growth. And again, just underperforming on that grade level proficiency. I think 5 years would be appropriate.
Okay, any other discussion? Can I get a motion on Concord Lake STEAM Academy, please?
This is Bruce. I'll make a motion that Concord Lake STEAM Academy receive a 5-year renewal.
And Hilda Parlay seconds.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Carroll, would you please take the roll?
Yes. Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Van Cannon,
She voted in the chat.
Yeah, aye. She said aye in the chat.
okay, Alex Quigley.
Aye.
Okay, it passes.
Okay.
Gate City Charter. So they were met, exceeded, not met, or if we're going in the reverse, not met, exceeded, and met. The reason that they ended up in the 5-year category was the comparability. They dropped by 6 or 7 points in the last year, and they're in the process now working on making that change to go the other direction again. So they're working on it.
What do people think about this one?
Hilda Parlay recuses.
Cheryl, I'm thinking, it looks like they're tracking in the right direction. I'm thinking we offer them a 7-year.
So for Gate City, Gate City Charter, they have, so they're in 16-17, it was a negative 16.7, but then they picked things up in 17-18 and they were right on with comps at just a negative 5, but in 18-19 they went back down to a negative 12.2.
I'm not sure.
And I retract my previous statement. I see that now.
Yeah, I
There's
think
been a lot of growth in enrollment as well in 2 years, the 200 students from 16-17. That's just a lot of growth to manage.
Yeah, I think 5-year may really be appropriate.
Yeah, this is a Coastal Heritage School, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I take it back. 5's good.
Can I get a motion?
This is Rita Hare. Move that we approve Gate City Charter for a 5-year renewal.
I'll second Cheryl.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Carroll, would you please take the roll?
Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda recused, Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Van Cannon.
Aye.
Yep, she's in the box.
She's in the box.
And Alex Quigley.
Aye.
All right, passes.
Okay, Union Day School. They are currently, meaning the last data that we have, they were performance grade C, not met, growth not met. The year before they were a C, growth not met, and the year before in 16-17 they were a B school. So the trajectory is a downward trend, going from 5.4 in comps in 2016-17 to a negative 10.7 in 18-19.
This one's clearly a 5 in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree.
Agree, Sherry.
Unless anyone else has an objection, I'll make a motion that Union Day receive a 5-year.
And Hilda Parlay seconds.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Vaquero?
All right. Sure, okay. Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Von Cannon. She's aye in the chat box. And Alex Quigley.
Aye.
All right, that's also passes.
Okay, so we're back to Unity Classical Charter. That was the school that we just spoke about not actually having data. The 1 year of data that they have is that they have a performance grade C, and they're comparable to their county for the 18-19 school year. So
With only 1 year of data, I think we need to see them back in 5 years.
okay.
This is Bruce. I would agree with that. And I would make a motion that we offer Unity Charter 5-year.
I'll second, Cheryl.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Ms. Vaquero?
Yes. Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Von Cannon, and Alex Quigley.
Aye.
And Heather voted aye in the chat.
Yep, I got him.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so the next school that we're going to discuss is Iredell Charter Academy. And we're moving into schools that, ordinarily would have fallen into a 3-year category. But with a 3-year school, if a school receives a 3-year renewal, they come back to you in a year and a half. And seeing the data that we don't have currently and what we may have to come up may or may not be considered reliable. This is the reason that we're aiming for a 5-year for these schools, to give them time to actually produce data for you to make a decision when they come before you again. So if there are no questions, I'll move forward with Iredell Charter Academy.
I have to say that the data that they have is concerning.
Yes, very bad.
But if they came back, if we gave them a 3-year, when they came back, we'd still be looking at the same data.
Right.
So there's no point in doing that.
Cheryl, I think in this case, and I think we discussed it in a meeting or two prior, just because of the situation, and we really don't know if we're going to have, if testing is going to go through this year. I think we are just going to offer a 5-year charter to Iredell, Coastal Prep, and Glow, and Success. I mean, clearly they all have fallen into the 3-year because of their data, but we're not going to have anything to change our opinion within 2 years.
So I wonder if we might not want to put a stipulation that whenever the next time we have reliable data, whether that's this year or next year, that that they're required to come back and see us.
I'm good with that. So I'll add that to the motion.
I would just on the stipulation, my only hesitation would just be kind of overburdening the board. I think this is really important. So maybe just either they have to submit a written report or come in, whatever is the kind of the pleasure of the board at the time. That's all.
And also consider that these schools will be on a low performing or continual low performing list, and they're monitored annually by OCS as well.
So then they'd be back anyway.
They'll be back anyway. So that's,
Yeah, I just think like as much as possible, things without votes, without stipulations are in our best interest. And from a management perspective and just to keep things as clean and simple as possible.
And my only concern was that I don't want it to look like we think that a school that has not met every year that it's existed is doing well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there will have to be, a statement that accompanies, certainly it'll be, included in the minutes, and then what in the presentation of the state board from staff or whoever, if it's not me, I think just a clear rationale that we are going to see these schools over and over again, and we are going to carefully, one thing that we could direct staff to do is, Shonda, you could add this as like an addendum to your renewal presentations next year and just say, here's the status of these 5-year schools, and like I'm just giving you an update. Basically,
Okay.
we have some mechanisms where we're keeping up with these schools, even though they're on a 5-year, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, Sherry, let's just do a straight 5-year let's just go through the whole list. Dr. Cooper, so we know which schools we're talking about.
Okay, so we started with Iredell, Charter Academy, Girls Leadership Academy of Wilmington, Coastal Preparatory Academy, and Success Institute Charter.
So I make a motion that we give a 5-year charter renewal to Iverdale Charter Academy, Girls Leadership Academy of Wilmington, Coastal Preparatory Academy, and Success Institute Charter.
There a second?
Bruce Friend will second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Ms. Becerra.
Okay. Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend.
Aye.
Can I have you recused? Lynn Kroger,
This is Lynn Kroger. Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Van Cannon,
Aye.
and Alex Quigley.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes for 5-year renewal.
Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for the hard work that you have put into these.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
And we do appreciate the amount of work, particularly under these conditions. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Quigley.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl, for that portion. Why don't we take let's see, where are we on the agenda? It looks like we're a little bit ahead of schedule, which is great. So why don't we take a 12-minute break and start back right at 9:50 as scheduled, with our interviews. Thank you, Dr. Cooper, as well, or Shonda. We're just we are really appreciative of all your work with this.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right, we'll see everyone at 12:50. No, sorry, 9:50.
Sherry?
Yes, dear.
Could you read the chat?
I haven't scrolled down in a bit. Let's see. Yeah, I'll send you my number.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, Melanie, we're ready to get started again.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Quigley. All right, this is Melanie Rackley with the Office of Charter Schools. Today, we will hear from the final two first-round applicants for the 2021 application cycle. What you'll see now is the overview and the breakdown of the 1 hour interview time. I will provide a 5-minute introduction, followed by the opening statement, introduction by the board for 10 minutes. The CSAB will then have a full discussion for 25 minutes, followed by a 10-minute closing statement from the board, and then CSAB, you all will deliberate for 10 minutes. At the conclusion of the interview process, the 3 options available are advance to the application to SBE for approval, advance to the application to the second round, or to deny the application. Today, we will hear from Oak Hill Charter, which is going to be led by Ms. Turner, and then we'll close with Wayne STEM, led by Ms. Reeves. And so if we are ready to begin, Ms. Turner, I will go ahead and start the Oak Hill introduction.
Please do.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Okay, so we have Oak Hill Charter School. Their proposed site is in Lenoir, North Carolina, located in Caldwell County. This is a map of zip code 28645. And what you'll see is a relatively remote area with only 3 LEA schools in the 6-mile radius of their proposed site. Okay. Again, Caldwell County, they'll open in year 1 with grades K7 with 184 students. Year 2, they'll expand to K8 with 210 students, followed by years 3 through 5 with 210 students. So they're at capacity at year 2. Oak Hill Charter will use a vendor for their food service, and they have provided a reduced pricing matrix within their application. They will provide transportation to their student body. They will not utilize the weighted lottery. They do not have an exact facility location at this time. There has not been an LEA impact statement submitted. They are not a repeat applicant. They did not use the assistance of an EMO or CMO. At the time of the application submission, their application was deemed complete. And so we do have Ms. McIntyre and the Oak Hill Charter School on the line. So if you all are ready, I will turn it over to you to make your 10-minute introduction.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Charter School Advisory Board members. My name is Kelly McIntyre, and I just want to thank you so much for allowing us to be here with you today. I have 27 years of experience working with children and teens of all ages. My strengths are in recruiting and training volunteers, planning events, organization, and partnering with parents. Currently, I'm the kids coordinator at Waterlife Church. Prior to COVID, our kids ministry was running about 200 children per Sunday, and we had 120 volunteers where we ran 2 services. I have worked with churches, the YMCA, the YWCA, and the Billy Graham Training Center. I also have a master's degree in church leadership and a focus in student ministry. I'd like to continue our board introductions by turning it over to Ms. Jessica Smith. Jessica is our vice chair.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Smith. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Jessica.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure my audio was working. I am the mother of 3 boys. I have 1 in high school, 1 in middle school, and 1 in elementary school. My husband and I are both law enforcement officers. I've been in law enforcement for over 16 years. I currently work for DMV, License and Theft Bureau, as an investigator. Previously, I worked for Lenoir Police Department. The majority of that time was also spent as an investigator. I was part of the team that opened the Robin's Nest Caldwell County Child Advocacy Center. I also served as a member of their MDT team, which is their multidisciplinary team, and I was a child forensic interviewer. While there, I interviewed over 100 children from ages 2 to 18 who were believed to be victims of physical and/or sexual abuse. I'm also the Marine Corps Choice for Tots coordinator for Caldwell County. I've been involved with that organization for about 10 years, and we typically assist 600 to 800 children each Christmas season. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Now I'd like to introduce to you John McCreary. He is our board secretary.
Good morning. My name is John McCreary. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy's and have been a service technician for the last 30 years. I'm a parent of a son currently in the 4th grade, and my desire as a parent and for other parents is to have a choice in our children's educational opportunities with a structured character building program. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, John. Stephanie Lale is our treasurer and another board member, but she is unable to be here with us today due to health reasons. So we're going to move on to Jan Green. She is also a board member.
Hi, my name is Janice Green. I was elected to a 4-year term, being the first woman chairman of the Caldwell County Commissioners in Lenoir, North Carolina. During my tenure, I oversaw a budget for over 77,000 citizens. In that budget was our local school district, DSS, the health department, and various other departments. I've served on many boards in our county. I have achieved many goals that I appointed to myself, and one of those was working with children for the last 30 years. I've been blessed to do that. I want to take this time to thank you so much for helping us to further our goal in providing poor education to our children. They're so deserving. We appreciate your time and your effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Our final board member is Eric Wilson. You will see that at the time of the submission of our application that Libby McCreary Long was listed. Libby also serves on the board of directors for another community organization known as the Oak Hill Ruritan Club. Being on 2 boards was becoming a stretch for her, so she opted to continue her first commitment, which was to the Oak Hill Ruritans. She, however, continues to be one of our biggest fundraising volunteers. We replaced her with Eric Wilson. He is a newly retired educator, and he has been completely brought up to speed with where we are in our application process. Unfortunately, Eric could not be here with us today because his mother passed away from COVID-related complications just yesterday. Eric is an outstanding board member for us. He has both a degree in business and in education. He has worked in economically and racially diverse urban schools and in small economically distressed rural schools. He has a wide range of experience working with students of all backgrounds and all abilities, including EC students. Eric is a tremendous asset to our board. We hate he can't be here with us today, but in his heart, he truly wanted to be, but felt like he needed to be with his family. Our board is truly excited about the opportunity we have before us. We have the possibility to be the first charter school in our county and to be the only school of its kind in our entire area offering a comprehensive and meaningful character education program and a back to basics curriculum. Right now, the only school options we have for our families are the current LEA, homeschooling, and one small private Christian school. As you can see, our educational options are very limited, especially in grades K through 8, and our parents want more. I believe our survey results listed in our application are a good example of that. We have gained a tremendous amount of support from our community. We have partnered with a local community organization called the Oak Hill Ruritan Club on 2 barbecue fundraisers since June. We have raised over $6,000, and that doesn't even include our private donations. My friends, at $10 a plate, that is a lot of barbecue. If we were to add in private donations, our donations are now over $10,000. This is quite a lot for an area such as ours. Our community support does not stop there. We created a community outreach team. At 2 community charter school interest meetings, we invited people to sign up and list any special skills they had that would be willing to offer in service to the charter school. We currently have a list of about 50 people, both parents and community supporters, willing to volunteer their time to help us open the school. We also have 2 offer letters from 2 community organizations to allow the charter school to use their facilities for classrooms. In addition to that, we have a list of nearly 150 community supporters who want to stay connected to our charter school through email updates. We have also gained support on the national level as well. Congresswoman Virginia Foxx wrote a support letter on our behalf, which was included in our application. Dr. Foxx also made a personal visit to our board back in September. We have chosen a back to basics approach. In December, during a town hall meeting sponsored by Hillsdale College, Dr. Daniel Copeland mentions that education should be the cultivation of wisdom and virtue, or the head and the heart. Our board believes in this philosophy and is passionate about offering not just a back to basics education, but also a comprehensive character education program in order to produce well-rounded students, as stated in our mission statement. For wisdom, we have chosen to use core knowledge, a curriculum that starts early, building a core foundation of knowledge and then builds on this knowledge sequentially year after year. Its approach is cross-curricular, with each subject supporting the other, so there is continuity in instruction. And our district middle schools curriculum alignment is lacking sometimes between grades. We will also use Shirley Grammar as a support to core knowledge, teaching students the basics of grammar, syntax, sentence structure, and writing skills. These concepts are merely glazed over in our district elementary schools, but this curriculum provides a much greater level of rigor. We have also chosen to use Saxon Math. It is a spiralized approach that reviews previously mastered content while helping students build new knowledge on that foundation daily. Our LEA's lowest scores are in math, with only 59.6% being proficient in the elementary grades. This is even lower for our district middle schools. The spiralized approach in Saxon Math and its reinforcement of concepts has been proven very successful in raising test scores. For virtue, we have chosen to use Core Essentials, a character education program that focuses on a monthly character value that teaches children, staff, and families 3 core values. These are treat others right, make smart decisions, and maximize their potential. We love this program because it invites parents to be involved personally with their child's growth and development through monthly communications and take-home activities, as well as classroom activities. We also expect the board and staff to live out these core values daily. Education is not one-dimensional. You can't focus on one aspect of the child and avoid nurturing the other. It takes focus on both the head and the heart to produce a student that is whole and complete and ready to face any challenge. We want children to not just go through an education system, but to be fully educated. We believe that our curriculum and our school can do just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's start to talk about the application. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to put out there?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to know when they will consider a weighted lottery, being that the majority of their students are Caucasian. And I question the Saxon Math. And if I'm not mistaken, it's been proven that it is not aligned with the North Carolina course of study. And that's all I have for the moment.
Cheryl, do you want us to do questions by section or just give them all to you and go from there?
If we have a lot of questions, we can do section. So let's do numbers, need, goals, and purposes.
Purposes of the proposed charter school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's
sure
start with those.
touch on that.
I'm sorry, Alex, I didn't hear you.
I was just saying, per the questions that we received at the State Board of Education, we want to make sure that we're whether now or at the end of the whenever we're at least talking about those purposes, 6 legislative purposes and the school's purposes.
And
I guess I'll just share, for the board as a whole, and taking a moment across all the schools, but and the reason for the board of Oak Hill, the reason I'm raising this is the State Board of Education has been asking about every application. What are the purposes? How does the school meet the criteria, the 6 legislative purposes of charter schools? We as a board in our kind of decisions want to, and in discussion in response to that, we are making the decision to make sure that we talk about those specific items and so that it's reflected in the minutes, and then should we pass this school forward, that we specifically name those so the State Board can see those in the minutes, and that's to the school's benefit.
Okay, so let's start with that. Can you speak to what the legislative purposes that you see the school filling, and what's unique about your school?
One key thing we feel that will fulfill those legislative purposes is the fact that we are providing something vastly different than the current LEA. The curriculum is going to be very different, just with the way that we will be incorporating more with grammar and writing skills in the lower grades, as well as how it's being taught, with it being like with Saxon Math being that spiralized approach, and starting with that building block of concepts and watching them build on each other, building a foundation, and then being consistent with repeating concepts. And then each grade builds on that, and all the subjects support each other. The other thing that's very different is the fact that we are offering a comprehensive character education curriculum. As you heard in my opening statement, it's based on 3 core values: the treat others right, make smart decisions, and maximize potential. That is not only going to be taught to the students, but that will be an integral part of the culture of our school. That will be the standard by which our administrator, our board members, and our teachers and staff will be held to as examples for our students and their families. That is vastly different from the what the current LEA is offering with the culture in their schools.
Cheryl, could I interject here? This is their application stated they met the purposes of number 2 and number 3. I'm wondering if Mrs. McIntyre could speak to number 2, accountability.
So far as accountability goes, one of the things that we found very attractive about charter schools is how they're run. The accountability is brought down to the local level. Instead of having a school board that is over 25 or 30 schools, you are better able to meet the needs of the families that you serve because you're over just that one school. The ability of our board to communicate directly to the principal, there's much less bureaucracy and much layers of that, so we're able to respond to the needs a lot quicker. The Core Essentials Character Education Program, as I mentioned, is another level of accountability that we will be using for our teachers and our staff and our principal, and like I said, our board members too, to strive to. When it comes to evaluations of performance, we'll be looking and saying, hey, how did you do this year on treating others right? How did we do well, or how did we do as a school in making smart decisions about using our money, carrying out the curriculum, carrying out the goals and purposes, meeting the needs of our students. So I feel like there's a lot of accountability woven in there, and just the fact that we're a smaller environment, because we're just governing one school, as well as the standard by which we will be holding ourselves accountable with these 3 core values.
So Cheryl, can I tag on to that?
Sure.
I think the legislative purpose too is speaking more to the accountability of student achievement and proficiency. forgive me if it's in the application, I don't recall it. What is the current proficiency level of students in Caldwell County, especially your demographic groups that you're targeting, which you say mirror the LEA? Do you know what the proficiency is for Caldwell County?
The school system as a whole has barely a C average on their performance grade. 59.6% of elementary students are proficient in math, and only 63.4% of those same students are proficient in reading. Once you hit the middle school grades, 58.5% are proficient in math, and 60.25% are proficient in reading. So we hope that through a back to basics education, an entirely different approach to the way education is being handled in our county, that this will offer a different way of learning with reinforcement of concepts and building upon knowledge from one year to the next that will hopefully address raising some of those test scores.
Okay, so that brings me to several other questions, Kelly. In your performance standards, your academic goals that you listed proficiency for math for grades 3, 5, and 8, and then like a general one for all students for reading. But you didn't list proficiency goals for grades 4, 6, and 7. I'm not sure why, because all grades 3 through 8 have end of grade testing. Also, K2 has literacy goals, so they have to be tested also. So that, brings me back to my initial question. Can you tell me about the Oak Hill Elementary School? Because it's referred to several times throughout the application. Has it recently been closed? What's the status? What's going on with the Oak Hill Elementary School?
The Oak Hill Elementary School was closed this past spring, so it is a vacant building, and we hope to access that. Possibly, we are working and negotiating with the county at this time, hoping maybe we could possibly gain access to that building. If not, we also have those 2 facility offers, backups to that, where we would have classroom potential there.
Yeah, I was just asking purely because I know it's sounds like you want to go into this community, and it sounded like the school had been recently closed. I tried to find information on the web, but I couldn't find anything, so that's why I was asking. So you are talking about going back to the basics, but you're starting K7 with a program that is very structured. So if these students have not your 4th up, they haven't had this foundational piece, how are you to overcome that for those students, stepping into your 7th graders stepping in way late in the game with core knowledge in the Saxon math, the spiralizing, and so forth? How do you overcome that?
Our plan to overcome that is in the educators that we locate, and also the principal, who will follow through with our core beliefs as the board, that they'll be able to help those children to come up to those standards.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what every school aspires to.
I think when you look at our plan for our school, it's going to have so much that our kids don't have today. Being a smaller institution, we will be able to, number one, have better communication with the parents. Number two, give more incentive to the students and give them more time. We plan to give them a firm foundation. It's a lot like building a house. If you don't have a firm foundation, you don't have the tools you need for a future. We plan to give our students the tools that they need so that they can build on them.
But I think what Ms. Reeves is suggesting is that you're going to get kids in 6th and 7th grade initially who have not had that foundation, and you don't have a whole bunch of time with them. How are you planning to support those students?
Well, we have a lot of community volunteers that are going to help us so that we can give more one-on-one. I think the fact that they're not going to be in an overcrowded situation.
Core Knowledge in Saxon Math also has a built-in review at the beginning of the year to try to bring students up to speed. We will also support students that may be struggling through personal education plans and personal assessments there, as well as utilizing teacher assistants, parent volunteers that can give one-on-one support too.
That is something that Ms. Parlier brought up, and that's that Saxon Math is not correlated to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. And what is your plan for mitigating that?
There are resources out there that bring the school back to level, or back to the state standard of level.
The issue isn't really level. The issue is standard skills. The skills aren't in the right grades. But it's a highly structured program, so it's not like you can jump around.
Long term, these students do benefit from Saxon Math, and it's been proven many times through research.
I think that the issue is, I mean, and at the end of the day, you got to, charter schools have the freedom to pick their curriculum in a line. There's just some concerns that after the Common Core shift, Saxon Math does not align to the math. Now we can have certainly a debate about Common Core math and the new math standards, but Saxon Math is got a lot of alignment issues. It's rated poorly against the Common Core standards by kind of organizations that do the alignment. So it has a lot of issues. There's a lot of positives to the program, but this is, if that's your selected curriculum, you're gonna have, there has to be like a really comprehensive understanding of how you're gonna manage against the misalignment.
If I could speak to that just a second, from my personal experience with this and with my son who's in the 4th grade, some of the things that were explained to him through the Common Core process, he couldn't understand that. And when I explained him using the methods that we're going to be using, it clicked and he was able to understand it more clearly. So I know from a personal account that it does work and that it does overcome some of these gaps that are there. Perhaps some of these studies have not been in depth enough. I don't know, but I do know that personally it does work for my son. I just wanted to make you aware of that. Thank you.
Saxon Math has been used by many charter schools over the years. There's built-in assessments for the kids. There's built-in training for teachers to help them stay on top of things, to make sure that students are meeting those standards where they need to be for the state. And we believe that long-term, this will be better than what is currently being offered in our district schools.
A major tenet of your plan is this character program. How are you planning to measure that?
We will have monthly reports provided to our board of directors from our school administrator. Built in with the curriculum itself, there will be classroom activities so that students can be physically involved, have on-hands learning of what it means to love others, to respect others, to show kindness. It could take the form of things like a classroom activity such as a food drive. It could take the form of making cards to send to the hospitals or to the nursing homes, just various ways that students can be active in serving their community and exhibiting these traits. We would also do things like recognize special students who've gone above and beyond the call of duty in the way that they have helped their community, or even served their classmates and how they have treated them with kindness and respect. So a lot of that will be done in reports and verbally, and just having a good feedback from our teachers, from our administrator, and from our parents.
Also adding to that, things I've noticed with my son in these classrooms and things, and these are personal experiences I've had with this, that a lot of times classrooms are interrupted and they have to switch over to a disciplinary forum rather than teaching in order to handle these issues. And the core essentials that we're going to provide for this would help alleviate those things. Not going to be just a reward system for those that choose to do good on their own. This is going to be something that's taught to these children throughout in order to how to act and to reprimand or to alleviate any problems before they happen. So those are the things we seek to do along with that instructional teaching, which accentuates the teaching that the teacher is going to be doing, because it frees more time up for that rather than the disciplinary action. Thank you.
You mentioned that in grades 7 and 8, your classrooms would be self-contained. In North Carolina, beginning in grade 7, for sure, teachers are subject certified. And so that means that if you use one teacher as a self-contained teacher in 7th and 8th grade, they will be teaching out of field in multiple subjects. How are you planning to address that?
We're going to look for very qualified teachers that are proven to be successful at teaching cross-curricular multiple subjects. Subject certified, that are subject certified. And they will receive training prior to the school opening, as well as continued training on how to implement core knowledge in Saxon Math and Shirley Grammar. And if we have to, we will find consultant, we will find support to work with the 7th and 8th grade teachers one-on-one to address their needs and to get certified teachers.
The other thing I noticed is that you intend to have a curriculum coordinator who is one of your core content teachers, which means they're teaching all day. But then there were all these other responsibilities that this person was going to have. And I couldn't see where they were being compensated for that. There was one line for, I think, PD compensation or something for $2,500. I wasn't sure if that was going to that person. But how are you planning to have that teacher have full day teaching responsibilities for a classroom and still be the teacher support to the other teachers?
It is that compensation in the budget that you mentioned.
Okay, that's how she's going to get paid to do it. How's she going to do it?
They'll work in tandem as a team with the administrator to get it done.
Anybody have any other questions?
I just wanted to circle back to the self-contained. So just point of clarification. So your seventh grade teachers would be self-contained. Is that right? Like, so the 7th graders would be taught by the same teacher all day?
Yes.
Okay. So are you understanding that in order for that to work, you would need to have a person certified in a 7 to 12 license in math, reading, science, and social studies.
If we need to move a teacher out to bring in another teacher that's certified in a specific area, we will be willing to do that.
Okay. I think the problem is that it's kind of like the model is one thing. That model will work until 6th grade. It breaks off at 7th grade. And so if you kind of like build a model on one thing and then say, oh yeah, well, we can just swap somebody out, like stuff, it doesn't actually, it's much more complicated. I guess my other question is there a reason that you're deciding to go K to 7 and not 8? Is there a reason like why that kind of chosen grade span? Why not K? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of grades to fill from a student perspective and difficult to manage with so many grades starting at once. So any thoughts on that?
Well, first, I'd like to go back to your last mention of being prepared with the teaching and providing a certified teacher for a broad perspective of subjects. We understand the core knowledge sequence, and we will be willing to make any adjustments as needed as different needs arise and stuff for those grade levels. On your question to why are we considering K7 our first year and then moving to K8, why are we considering ultimately our goal being K8? As you heard in our mission statement, in my opening statement, families in grades K through 8 have very limited opportunities in our county. And question 18 of our application, you'll see that proficiency in math and ELA then drops once our students hit middle schools. So this is an area of really just a great need for something different, a new fresh take on education. The U.S. Department of Education says that the K-8 model simply works the best. It provides continuity and stability for students during a time in which they are experiencing the most change. And then lastly, I'd like to mention that in our survey results, we received the highest response from grades 6th and 7th grade. Now, we decided not to include an 8th grade our first year, but to work into that our second year, is to get established first in grades K through 7. And then we also, according to our survey results, 8th grade was our lowest response that we received. So we want to open as a K7. And then as those 7th graders move on up to 8th grade, then we will open up and be a full K-8 school.
Okay, our time is up. Would you like to make your closing statement? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. McIntyre, and morning. This is Bruce Friend. I have a question, actually, and I'll try to keep it brief, but it has to do with your facility and the information, or proposed facility, and the information in the application. It states that the church would be sufficient for year one. The Oak Hill, the Union Baptist Church could serve students in year one. So what would happen in year two is my first question. And then it also talks about regarding the potential use of why is that school vacant? So those are two.
I will address your first question, and then if you don't mind repeating your second question, because there was some static and I could not fully hear your entire question. But so far as your first question goes, I feel like we are in great shape with our facility plan. Even if, our first goal, our first choice would be to possibly gain access to this vacant school building. That would allow us to have more than enough room to run a K through 8 school with several common areas, including a full auditorium as well, and a gym and a ready-made playground. That's first choice. But we are wise enough to know that you can't just put all your eggs in one basket. So We had two wonderful organizations who we've already, that reached out to us, and the Oak Hill Ruitons, we've reached out to them as well. They have a 6,000 square foot facility that used to be part of the Smart Start program, which so it was a full pre-K there. And so our plan, even for first year, we would have to be run K through 5 at the Ruiton building and then do grade 6th and 7th at the Union Baptist Church. And those two facilities are about a mile from each other. So they're still in very close proximity. So that is our plan B. And then we can go ahead and roll with that from the day we open our doors on into 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and continued years if need be. Now, tell me again what your second question is.
Yes, your preference, it sounds like, is to find a way to use the former Oak Hill Elementary School site. Why is that building vacant?
The school system at the end of last year was projecting that their, oh goodness, they were going to have a budget shortfall of they were dipping into their fund balance up to $2.5 million. They were going to be dropping below that. So they had several years of overspending. So they had to make some drastic budget cuts, and they ended up closing that school to help accommodate for at least some of that.
So all the students that were at Oak Hill are being bused to other schools, presumably?
Yes, they are. Some of them are being bused extremely long distances, anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, both in the morning and in the afternoons. So there's a huge need to reach a population right now that is really been put at a disadvantage just for transportation. Another thing I'd like to bring up is that busing these kids out of the current area means that some of our middle schools are having really high numbers in their classrooms, 30 to 33 children in a classroom. So that's one thing that we hope to provide is a smaller, more manageable class size, with our middle school classrooms being capped at 26.
Okay, thank you.
Can I tag on to that question real quick?
Sure.
How many students were at Oak Hill, and what's the grade span of that school?
That grade span was kindergarten through 8th grade, and I believe the last report that I heard, they were somewhere in the 120s so far as their enrollment.
Okay, if you'd like to make your closing statement.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. First of all, I really do want to express a sincere gratitude for all of the work you as a board put into reviewing our application and taking the time to meet with us today. We consider it a privilege that our leadership as a board and our county is being reviewed as a possible location for a brand new charter school. Second, we have intentionally sought the opinion of our residents, specifically parents, through a survey, online engagement, support letters, and personal face-to-face meetings, and have found overwhelming support, both in enthusiasm and financially, for charter school. Our county has many needs in grades K through 8. Test scores in math and ELA barely meet state average for proficiency, and very few options are available to provide our families with school choice. We want to change this. We have a vision to create a school that seeks to nurture both aspects of a child's needs, the head and the heart. We believe in this mission so much so that we look at this school as not just a school, but a family. A family brings comfort to its members and supports each other through thick and thin, yet provides good boundaries and direction for its children to grow. This was carefully considered as we chose the Core Essentials curriculum for our character education program. We believe this curriculum will provide an essential component for socio-emotional learning. We have assembled an incredible team. Partnering with Goodall Consulting, leaning on their guidance has been invaluable to our application process. We will continue this relationship and utilize their wisdom, resources, and expertise as we seek to properly follow all procedures and state guidelines as we move forward. In keeping with the core values of our character education program, we will pursue excellence. Another essential component to our team is our partnership with our local community organizations such as the Oak Hill Ruetan Club. We have also put together a list of community supporters in the form of our community outreach team that are willing to volunteer their skills and time to meet the needs of our school. From plumbing to painting to tutoring, we have people willing to help. This networking has not only helped us get the word out about a potential charter school for our county, but also provided an avenue for continued financial support. We want to be a team player with our community, both now and for the future, in order to ensure the success of our school. Lastly, as a board chair, I am so proud of this board of directors in which I have the privilege to serve. Each one is uniquely gifted with a wealth of experience that will be essential to providing leadership for our school. We have a former county commissioner and banker, a law enforcement officer specially certified to be an advocate for children, and a Toys for Tots director, a technician with a wide range of experience working with mechanical applications and HVAC systems, a volunteer coordinator, event planner, and networker with organizations and parents, and a retired teacher who has worked in multiple environments from an urban city to a rural district school, and with children from all backgrounds, abilities, and ethnicities. Some are parents, some are educators, some are business professionals, but we are all invested and passionate about providing a refreshing approach to education for the families in our county. In closing, we want you to know that the desire of our board is to create an environment for children to learn that is truly unique, safe, supportive, and challenging with high expectations, both personally and academically. We want our families to have a great experience, to feel connected, and to feel a part of a bigger family for learning, not just an education system. We want our children to be prepared to embrace the challenges of today and to prepare them for success tomorrow. We believe that our Back to Basics curriculum, Core Knowledge, Saxon Math, and Shirley Grammar, coupled with the Core Essentials Character Education Program, can do just that. Thank you for your time and all you do as an advisory board to help give parents more options for education and to support charter schools.
Thank you. All right, this is our time to discuss this application. Does anybody want to start? I don't want to be the person to start out.
This is Heather Van Cannon. I was just going to chime in now that I don't have a screaming toddler to interrupt all of our meeting. And just real quick, someone had mentioned in the chat box about the professional development, and with trying to implement multiple programs like this with teachers that I heard, I think someone responded about, well, we'll get them training, we'll get a consultant. I mean, you're asking these teachers to be immediately come in and be superheroes, basically. And in 3 days, having been in that boat, there's no way that 3 days is sufficient. So just on that alone, I'm thinking, what is it that we're missing in terms of realistic expectations with being able to carry this out in the school, all of the things that they want to do? So that's my initial comment.
I didn't ask when we were talking, but I had the same thing, 5 different curriculum in 5 days of PD, 5 very specific curriculum. They talk frequently about implementing them to fidelity, but with the amount of training, that would be really difficult. A curriculum coordinator who's a full-time classroom teacher and then has all these other duties, that doesn't work. When I read the app, the things that I think are compelling about this application, one is that it's in a county that has no other charters. They are taking an approach, back to basics approach, which is different than what is currently available to families in that county. I do think that that speaks well for it. I came away feeling like this board is not ready to do this, that they don't really have a full grasp of what it's going to take to do it. I think some of their plans are really not realistic. Things like the curriculum facilitator is going to teach all day, like that we're going to do 5 days of PD on 5 different programs, and we're going to be able to implement with fidelity. Our 7th and 8th grade teachers are going to be certified in everything. Saxon Math is, doesn't match the standards, but that never, like, I don't think they ever understood what we were saying. They were talking about expectations, what the expectations, but we're talking about something different. We're talking about the contents not in the right place. And I don't think that there was a good plan for, we're taking a lot of older children. We're going to use these highly structured programs. We're taking a lot of older children who have not been exposed to these programs, and how we're going to make that transition. I don't think that was there. And given all of that, I don't think the application's ready for prime time.
Would it be okay for me to interject something right quick?
No, I'm sorry, not at this time.
Okay.
Cheryl, can I add to what you were saying? When I first read that Caldwell County was aspiring to open a charter school and there was no charter school within 45 minutes, I was very excited because I understand, they're kind of in an outlying area just like where I am. And I get excited about new opportunities for charter schools in areas where there are none. Because, of course, all of us are all about offering options to parents and students. But as I read through the application, there were just little things that were dinging for me. The PD, the grade span, the lack of understanding about proficiency and end-of-grade testing requirements, and even the calendar. There were, testing was 3 weeks before school got out or something. It's required statutorily. And I know that's things that they would learn. Some of that they would learn when they go through the ready to open process. But then we didn't even get to the operational piece or the budget. For me, there were questions about the lunch plan and just lots of questions for me in the budget. I am very excited still that this board seems strong in their desire. They have 3 potential facilities, so that's fantastic. I think that they need to go back and tighten up many areas of the application and apply as an accelerated applicant next year with their facility locked down. And, if that were the case, they would be opening at the same time that they're requesting to open now. But currently, as written, I think the application falls a little short.
Sherry, I think that is a great option to offer them, because I agree with both you and Cheryl. This is Rita. It is very compelling to look at that area of our state and want to see a successful charter there, and the no-nonsense approach to their schooling is appealing as something different to the area and unique. Also, their involvement in the community, the events that they've been conducting, networking, getting support. I think there's a lot of great effort being shown there. But I agree that the roadblocks are probably too much to see it go through this year. However, what you offered, if they have the passion and the grit to take this through, I think that would be a great option for them to look at something accelerated next year. I would mention too, the PD, I agree with that. In fact, they also mentioned Ed Plan, the Socratic method and cross-curricular pedagogy, and those things weren't even in the professional development that already wasn't really going to get those teachers equipped in time. So yeah, I think that compounded that problem.
Madam Chair, I concur with my cohorts without being redundant. And I have a special place, of course, for middle schoolers, and wondered how they will feel being self-contained daily. You have to treat middle schoolers a little different. So I concur without being redundant. Thanks. Hilda Burley.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
Cheryl, I'll make a motion that we not move Oak Hill Charter School forward, ready to open. But with that being said, I really would like to encourage this board to review the application, look at the comments that were made by the external evaluators, look at the board members' comments, make the corrections, and please come back next year and put in an accelerated application. You will have to have your facility locked down, and hopefully by that point you would definitely be able to know whether or not you could get the facility of the old or the former Oak Hill Elementary School. But that's my motion.
That was a lengthy motion, and I concur, Sherry, and I second that motion. This is Rita. Thank you.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I would just echo Sherry's comments. I think particularly in some of our rural communities, more rural communities that we don't have charters, very exciting that that would likely meet the criteria for need for an acceleration. And then it seems like they have 2 viable facility options. And we have a school that's already been closed in a community where students are being bussed around. We had a recently just approved an acceleration for a similar school that had those characteristics. And so I think in this case, a lot of times schools apply for acceleration don't have the criteria for acceleration, but have a strong app. I think it's kind of the other way around. I think those criteria are there. And so the good news with that is those things in some ways are harder because they're out of your control on some level. The app is within your control, and bringing back, spending some more time on the app, tightening up some components with the board, feel confident that this would be very competitive for an acceleration next year.
I would also recommend that they look to add an educator to their board. I just think that would be helpful.
Ms. Turner, this is Mr. Friend. Again, without being redundant, I share some of the concerns that have been shared by those CSAB members. With someone with a real passion for rural education, I really do want to see them come back next year. We didn't dive into the budget this morning. I would think there's some things in the budget too. I'd encourage them to take a look at, specifically around classroom technology expenses, busing expenses, things like that, to maybe look at in the budget and make sure that that's truly adequate. And button up some things in the facility and button up some things in the education plan, and want to see them back there. I want to see these faces later in 2021.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Becerra, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Joel Ford.
Aye.
Bruce Friend.
Aye.
Rita Hare.
Aye.
Lynn Kroger.
Aye.
Hilda Parlay.
Aye.
Sherry Reeves.
Aye.
Cheryl Turner.
Aye.
Heather Von Cannon. And Alex Quigley.
Aye.
All right, passes.
All right. Time-wise, we are 10 minutes ahead of schedule. So why don't we take a 10-minute break and start Wayne STEM at 11 o'clock on the dot. Thank you, Oak Hill. We'll see you again.
Oh, yeah, it does.
All right, we're ready. Let's go.
Okay. This is Melanie. We have our final applicant of the first round cycle for 2021, Wayne STEM Academy here. The zip code that you're looking at on this map is for 27534. You'll find about a dozen schools in the area there, primarily LEA schools with the exception of Wayne Preparatory Academy. And so that's the only charter school within that radius. Ashley, if you go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, Wayne STEM Academy slated for open in Wayne County in year 1, grades K through 3, with 292 students, expanding to K4 in year 2 with 380, year 3 K5 with 468, in year 4 K6 556, and year 5 K7 with 644 students. At capacity, Wayne STEM is slated for 776 students subsequent to the first 5 years. They will provide food service through a Wayne County Community Partnership. There's an organization called Wages that the board will speak to. They will provide transportation for their student body. They will utilize a weighted lottery. Currently, they do not have a facility. There was not an LEA impact submitted at the time of application. They are not a repeat applicant, nor did they use assistance from an EMO or CMO. Application was complete at time of submission. I will allow for a 10-minute opening statement. If Ms. Reeves, if you're ready to lead on this one.
Yes, ma'am. Let's go.
Okay, very well. And I'll turn the floor over to Wayne STEM Academy.
Good morning. How are you? I just want to thank you all very much for this opportunity to defend our application. We're very excited for this day. Been working very hard. My name is Scott Satterfield, and I'm the founding board member and chairman of Wayne STEM Academy. I'm a resident of Goldsboro and have lived in the community for 12 years. I located to Goldsboro actually as a youth pastor, working with middle school through college ages at a local church here in Goldsboro. And after finishing my ministry there, I've started now a couple of small businesses here in the community. And currently I am the head of business development with the Downtown Goldsboro Development Office for the city of Goldsboro. As the founding member and chairman of the board, I've seen the need for educational choice in Wayne County for a number of years now. I have 3 children, all school age. My wife and I are fortunate enough to have the means to send our children to a community private school. And we realize that fortune and understand that there's just a lot of families in our community that do not have such a privilege. And so I and the board of Wayne STEM Academy see our school as an opportunity to work within my community to bring a high quality STEM curriculum to Goldsboro and to Wayne County. I and the board of Wayne STEM are here to request approval of our application for a K-8 STEM focused charter school. The mission of the board with creating this charter school is to provide an academically challenging learning environment that develops its diverse student population into solution-focused, peace-building citizens who are equipped to solve the world's problems. We have seen education performance in the eastern part of our state diminished as we have experienced quite a bit of industry loss and ultimately a decline in population in most areas. And as we work to redevelop our communities from an economic perspective, and as I've worked in this day in and day out, we see education being fundamental to the foundation of any future success, community growth, talent retention, talent attraction, for all those things. And so in my role with the DGDC, I have worked supporting the redevelopment efforts of downtown Goldsboro and the surrounding community throughout the city. I've been privileged to see the successes that 20 years of hard work has created. But a key issue affecting our continued growth is the lack of educational choice for families looking to relocate to our community. We've experienced a loss of employment and opportunities over the past several decades, and the area has become more singularly focused on and reliant on the support of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base since the closure of several manufacturing companies in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And education has even been a growing and substantial problem for the base. And so it affects our future relationship with the base. And as we were developing our board, it was imperative that the team that was put together could support the efforts in opening a school and could ensure the challenges that we will surely face, that we're able to address them head on and to address them with relevant experience. We have a former state auditor, a current auditor with the UNC education system. We have a retired EC teacher, a current ESL instructor at a charter school, a current director of a charter school, a prior director of 2 charter schools, a correctional officer in the juvenile system in Wayne County, and a detective with the State Bureau of Investigation. Additionally, 2 of our active board members were former founding board members and have successfully opened a charter school in rural eastern North Carolina. And so at this time, I am thrilled to let this talented and diverse board introduce themselves. Maybe we'll start with Carla.
Good morning. My name is Carla Jacobs, and I am the board treasurer. I currently serve as the chief audit officer at UNC Pembroke. I have more than 15 years of experience in auditing and accounting. I worked with a regional CPA firm auditing local governments, nonprofits. I was a performance auditor and performance audit supervisor for the state auditor's office for more than 9 years. And prior to joining UNC Pembroke, I was the internal auditor for the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina in Pembroke. So I realized that one of the number one reasons that some charter schools fail is because of late and inaccurate reporting. And it's my job on this board as an oversight role to make sure that that does not happen with Wayne STEM. Compliance is my area. As Scott mentioned, I am one of the board members who sat on the founding board for Emerald Bladen in Elizabethtown and served as the board treasurer for that board for about 3 years. I agreed to serve on this board because, as with Emerald, I see the need for educational choice for families in Eastern North Carolina, especially the rural areas. I had 2 boys that started out in the education system in Robeson County and knew that that just was not going to work for them. So I moved to Cumberland County and eventually Wake Forest so that my children could have better educational opportunities. Like Scott, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And I realized that many families are not. I've been fortunate enough to see what an education of choice can do for low performing communities. My time on the Emerald board, getting that school started was extremely rewarding. And our board was able to bring a new educational model to over 650 students in the Elizabethtown area and surrounding Bladen County families. So I appreciate the chance to present our application and look forward to getting our school open for the students and families of Goldsboro and Wayne County. Thank you.
Rhonda.
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Coyne. I serve as the vice chair for Wayne STEM Academy Board. I'm currently employed as a crime scene investigator with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. I personally am the oldest of 7 children and being raised in a large family definitely made my educational experience different than most. At different points in our lives, my siblings and I attended public, private, and charter schools. Going to North Carolina kind of served as a catalyst for my mother to homeschool. because the area schools where we moved were not performing to her satisfaction. So choice was definitely big. I joined this board to support educational choice for the families of Wayne County. I bring the experience of serving as a founding board member, secretary for MRO Bladen in Elizabethtown, and seeing the success of that school inspired me to support other schools in Eastern North Carolina. I look forward to being a part of another school's successful opening and providing Wayne County families a high quality educational choice.
All right, Karina. Karina, are you on? Unmuted? All right. Did I hear her pop on? No. All right, we'll go with Tom McCarthy.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tom McCarthy. I've been in public education for 25 years as working in traditional school systems, and then the past 11 years in charter schools. I wanted to be part of this board because I felt it was important to bring some of the experiences that I have had in running two different schools. My heart and soul are in charter schools and in providing educational opportunities to families, and feel like I bring a wealth of experience and knowledge of the good things and some of the pitfalls that you can experience when you're opening and trying to just navigate the educational world. Also a military child, so I understand military communities and the factors that affect young people in that environment, and proud to say that I have a son graduating from a charter school in the spring. Thank you.
All right, Donna Elliott, if you'll.
Good morning. My name is Donna Elliott. I am a lifelong citizen of Goldsboro. I have worked with the Goldsboro Police Department for over 20 years. The reason why I accepted a seat on the Wayne STEM Academy board is because I believe in public service. I have worked with youth placed at risk in the community for several years. I have spoken about the importance of educational achievement versus the ill effects of juvenile delinquency at schools, churches, and community groups to reach out to young people in Goldsboro. I have seen the effects a quality education has had on youth and ultimately our community. If I may take a point of personal privilege, my son is 25 years old. When I started with the Goldsboro Police Department, he was 3 years old. Early on in my career, I realized I had to enroll my son in private school during his elementary and middle school years. I was fortunate enough to have my son accepted in the Wayne Early Middle College High School. As an active parent in my son's education, I see the need for our students to be exposed to the highest quality and better educational opportunities. I'm proud to say that my son has attained his master's degree and now currently teaching in the Mecklenburg County Public School System. His efforts as a teacher illustrate my determination to instill in him the importance of education and building society in North Carolina's future workforce. We cannot afford to lose more youth to delinquent and criminal enterprises. In Wayne County, an additional jail has been built. I want to see our education system expand so we can ultimately reduce the size of our prisons across Eastern North Carolina. The application presented before you today is part of my continued effort to help other families achieve their educational dreams. I have been blessed and want to be a blessing to other families. I appreciate the time to present our application and look forward to opening our school in Goldsboro. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Satterfield, the Charter School Advisory Board will start their discussion. Because that was your 10-minute introduction. It's a little bit longer, but that's okay. So I will turn to my colleagues at this point and let you bring up any questions or concerns that you have. Let's start with looking at the grade span, the demographics, mission and vision, anything in those areas that you would like further clarification on, any questions or concerns?
Madam Chair, this is Heather Buchanan. My first question, I'm a little bit confused, and I'm going to jump forward a little bit to the organizational chart because it does impact the beginning of the application. So the organizational chart has a company, I think it's called Legacy Impact Capital. And doing a little research and looking at the organizational chart as well, it appears that they're going to be providing what looks like CMO services. And I want to ask a couple of questions. What's the relationship? I realize that you're modeling after triad math and science and triangle math and science for this school. There may be I don't know if there's a relationship between those schools and Legacy Impact Capital, so if that can be addressed. And the follow-up question would be, because it looks so much like a CMO, why wasn't it not designated as a CMO application? Because I do notice that the fees kind of ratchet up a little bit. Various things that they cover in the budget kind of go up too. So that does speak to the very beginning of the application, and if somebody can address that firstly for me.
Yeah, I'll be happy to take a shot at that. There was a lot packed in there. I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm not sure where, but I'll start with the Legacy relationship. So for us, Legacy sort of operates as like a chief service provider. You know, they would be providing capital for the asset, and they would be holding the asset. And then they also have sort of been able to build a network of third-party vendors and sort of bundle those together. So, you know, it makes it pretty simple for us. While they're not a straight-on management company, because through Legacy, we get access to every single one of these third-party providers. We can have direct conversations. It's sort of a direct relationship. It's not a passive relationship. So where we can hold each sort of each party accountable for the area that they have, you know, designated service. And but, you know, Legacy is sort of our chief contact, if you will. And so that's roughly the nature of the Legacy relationship to us. And then I think the Triangle, the TMSA group is a part of the third-party relationships that have been sort of organized and put together. And the reason that they were chosen is just because of the level of quality that they've produced and the STEM curriculum that they have a history of executing, which is something that we were looking for and very, you know, desired very much. And so they will provide, you know, curriculum. They will provide curriculum training and direction, and sort of help us navigate some of those early pitfalls that you know, schools are, you know, likely are obstacles that schools, you know, usually encounter. And we just feel like that network and that the strength of those relationships and our ability to have direct voice and direct, you know, so it's not hidden under one umbrella per se, but it is facilitated. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Carla, I don't know if you want to add any color to that.
Sure. Like Scott said, you know, Legacy is our service provider, providing the facilities for us through a lease agreement. And then through Legacy, we'll be contracting with TMSA, like you said, for the curriculum. But those arrangements will have certain expectations, certain deliverables, performance metrics in there that those third-party vendors will be held accountable for. And we have complete autonomy to cancel any of those agreements should they not meet our expectations.
Could I follow up with that on Heather's question? Mr. Satterfield, this is Rita Hare. Could you also elaborate then on the connection with Education Development Initiative, which is another nonprofit mentioned in your application, and Also, are there any board members here on your charter board that serve on any of those other boards?
I'll speak to the Education Development Initiative as I understand it, is it will basically serve as the holding company for the asset so that it's sort of separated out contractually so that if we ever, have to end our relationship, so it just is in a separate holding relationship. And no one sits on that board.
And what about legacy boards?
Not that I'm aware of.
This is Bruce Friend, just following up on the line of questioning to just to be clear. So for example, the org chart in front of us, you mentioned the curriculum would come from, for example, TMSA, which I can understand why you'd want that. But you have a representative from TMSA on your board. So you would basically be contracting with an organization that your own board member is affiliated with. That's not necessarily a conflict of interest. Just I'd want to be be transparent about it. Be very clear about that. That you'd be contracting with.
Yeah,
correct. If I can, I'll go ahead.
So I can address that.
Yes.
Dr. Cara is an employee of TMSA. Doesn't have any ownership interest with TMSA. Annually, the board will certify their independence and conflict of interest. And we, as we did with MRO, at the beginning of each meeting, we cite our conflict of interest statement, and anyone who has a direct conflict will be forced to recuse themselves from any decisions made that are related to that entity.
So just, and one more question on this line of questioning. So as it relates to all the, so you're working with, you're basically like contracting with Legacy to be a service provider to the school. Legacy then is subcontracting a lot of the work to other organizations. Does your board have a say in who Legacy is subcontracting to, or is that ultimately your call?
Yes. It is. Yes, sir. It is ultimately our call. We have final say. We have veto power, and we have the ability to end those relationships if the metrics that we understand and the deliverables that we understand that relationship to be bearing out are not met. So we have sort of like full accountability, like an immediate remedy, as in my world, how I think about it for addressing those relationships.
So I'm sorry, one more question. I'm diving into the budget now. Legacy's not doing this for free. So where in the are the expenses to Legacy?
I had a little trouble understanding you, if you don't mind restating.
So Legacy as a service provider is doing this pro bono. Where in the budget would I be able to find what their fees are, what you're paying for them to basically coordinate all of the other sub-organizations that do a lot help with the management of the school or the business of the school?
Carla, you want to do that, or you want me to take it?
I was muted. I'm sorry. So if you look in the, I'm trying to pull up my budget as well. In the operations budget tab that you have there, the fees that we would pay to Legacy are kind of spread out throughout here. In the facility lease mortgage is a piece of that would go to Legacy. Let's see.
Financial, would come out of that. They would sort of handle some back end financial services for us. The student
support. Yeah.
Okay, that's sufficient. We need to move on to other areas. So thank you for that. I appreciate your response.
And Madam Chair, I have one question since we're on the board. I noticed that there's only one member who lives in Goldsboro and that you're probably meeting virtually right now. So I have a concern about one coming from Durham, Fayetteville, Wendell, Zebulon, and Raleigh. And while you found the board members who are so spread out from the area that you want your school to exist. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question, Ms. Carlay. If anybody answers me, pipe in on that. It looks like in the questionnaires that the board submitted that many of you stated that you were recruited to the Wayne STEM Academy board by Howard Sowell. On one thing I see Howard listed on the board and then another I do not. So, and I'm pretty sure Howard is owner or CEO or some, in that regards to either Legacy Investment Capital. There was like 4 different companies mentioned: Legacy Investment Capital, LLC, Legacy Impact Capital, Legacy Funding Services. So is Mr. Howard Sowell on the board? Does he have a vested interest in any of these companies that will be servicing the school? And also in the application, Ms. Jacobs, it's stated that you were a board member of Legacy Impact Capital. Is that true? So let's start with those questions. And that follows in with Ms. Parlay's question. Only 2 members on the board are actually residents of Wayne County. So what's the common theme for Wayne County?
Yeah, I'll start there. I'll start with with part of that, and then maybe Carla, you can jump in to answer some of those those other direct questions. Howard leads the Legacy nonprofit development, and so he is he is part of that. We sort of, and I say we, I will speak for myself. I reached out and we were looking for just some education options, throughout the state. And so we reached out to some of our state partners to try to help connect us to people who had experience in this space. And that's how I got connected to Howard. And, I asked Howard to help us build, a board. And I think that part of the challenge is that we were trying to build a board of sort of, talent and skill that could deliver the product that we were after, which didn't exist in our space. You know what I mean? It didn't exist in our county. So, I met with Donna. Donna and I sort of got connected through Howard, even though we lived in the same city. And then we had some conversation and some back and forth. And then we would consistently be introduced to these new key people who could provide, what we were looking for. And so you had all these talented people, with exceptional children, the ESL experience, the board development experience, the charter startup and charter sort of operations experience. I mean, I said that we wanted the best. And so, that's how the relationship sort of came to be. Howard's part of Legacy as, his nonprofit corporation. And, he's been very crucial in helping us get to solutions, in my judgment, for what we're trying to build. And I guess with that, Carla, if you want to add to help answer any.
Right. There was a question of if I serve on the Legacy Impact Capital Board. I do not. I did at the very beginning when Legacy was first getting started up, but I withdrew from that board before I joined the WSA board.
Thank you for answering that.
Just to tag on some more information, since we're examining all of this, Legacy Impact Capital is a nonprofit. Legacy Funding Services is an LLC. Guess that would be your source of funds. And then I mentioned EDI, which you said was probably asset holding, but it's in your application that you may be getting used buses through EDI, your office furnishings, equipment lease, computer, website, software. So EDI is more integrated into this than I think maybe you were aware, Mr. Satterfield, or that you indicated. And I'm wondering, I think, is Mr. Sowell also part of that organization?
EDI is a nonprofit. I'm sure he is as I understand it, he would be a part of that organization, but that's not at odds with what I understood. I'm getting a lot of feedback from some side here, but that is not at odds with what you just described. Is not at odds with what I understood the relationship of EDI to be. They hold the assets, and so all of that you just mentioned, I would consider sort of assets. And then, as part of the arrangement of the lease, that's what helps provide the capital to make it so. The funding would provide the service of the debt to actually develop the property, and then the nonprofit that holds the assets, would, we would pay them sort of a lump sum to provide a certain product, a certain set of products. And so I count all those things, the buses, equipment, and all of that as assets in my mind.
Okay, Mr. Satterfield. So, this is confusing. It sounds very much like the application. What you were seeking was a CMO or an EMO to take care of all the services. Yet what we have are all these separate entities. When you look at Legacy Impact Capital directors, board of directors, it clearly shows Mr. Sowell and Ms. Jacobs on there as board members. I'm not sure if they're for-profit or nonprofit, but you can see that there's just confusion surrounding. My question for you, Scott, is, you are the resident of Wayne County, you and Ms. Elliott. And Ms. Elliott, I believe, has had numerous years in law enforcement in Wayne County. So I'm just wondering, why there hasn't been a greater effort to get more Wayne County residents on, because clearly anybody who knows about us down east know our educational challenges. Certainly Wayne County has had numerous issues with education over the past 10, 15 years. It's just, we don't understand why there's not more Wayne County residents. So I know our time is almost up. Ashley, if you could give me a time check. But I would like to open the floor to my colleagues for any questions regarding the ed plan. I know they said they're getting their curriculum from Triangle Math and Science Academy. I wasn't clear if that was the whole curriculum or just the science curriculum, because the ed plan spoke nothing of the ELA and math expectations. Any other questions from my board members for the ed plan?
Madam Chair, this is Heather Van Cannon again. I do have a question because core knowledge was actually mentioned in question 126, and I wanted to know how core knowledge was going to be folded into the curriculum that comes from, because for me, there's a lot of mystery around whatever that curriculum is. To be quite honest, as we have, a K5, K8, but we're going to be trying to teach children to read, and then but core knowledge is also mentioned. So I want to know how those meld together. And given that I don't know a lot about the curriculum that's provided by Triad and Triangle.
Tom or Mr. Cara, if y'all want to.
Yes, and quickly, this is Mr. Cara. You can call me John Cara. and I'm the director of Triangle Math and Science at Cary. Our school right now is using MyView Literacy for K through 5, and we'll be using a Springboard curriculum for 6 through 8 for ELA, and also Bridges in Mathematics for K through 5, and then again Springboard for 6 through 8 for mathematics in 6 through 8. And this is gonna be the curriculum we are expecting to use in Wayne STEM Academy by 2022-2023. Other than that, I would like to talk about real quick, if you let me, about our central office relationship with TMSA and Queen City. So this is not a CMO, this is shared services with like our central office. Our central office is also not a CMO. They are operating with 5 different campuses in 3 different cities, and helping with the PDs and then progress monitoring and testing, and also HR, and I mean a full scale of service providing from the central office point. So we just pay them 5% of the budget, and then they actually distribute the amount back to the schools if there's any extra money, because they are also non-profit organization like us. I mean under non-profit organization. So any other questions about the curriculum?
Yeah, could you reiterate what you said the ELA curriculum is going to be? I didn't understand that. I think I'm getting Springboard for math.
Springboard for both math and ELA in 6 through 8, and then MyView Literacy for K through 5. And of course, Tom can talk about some extra support, because these are, you cannot get like 100% covered materials for North Carolina. So our teachers are using supplements, teacher created supplements for supplementing the North Carolina standard course of study, so that we can reach up to 100%. And of course, reaching out all of the students, especially EDS population, before school, after school, during lunch and Saturdays. We support them, and that's why our school is like around 90% accomplished, and we get the A rating for the last like 6 years. Although we have like I can say between EL, EC, and then economically disadvantaged students, total all the educationally disadvantaged students are almost like 20%, but we are still up to 90%. Tom can get in, please, if you would like to.
Absolutely, happy to. So anything in your academic plan kind of starts and ends with how you're going to deliver it as well. So teachers have autonomy, and we have had multiple discussions with the TSA about the curriculum that they use. And ironically, they just did a little curriculum overhaul over the course of the past couple of years. Because one thing that happens with curriculum is you're always looking for alignment. So our main driver is the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. Then when we're looking at the Bridges, or we're looking at MyView, or any of those curriculums that we're using, are there gaps? Because many times most curriculums get about 85% right. So we're going to have to supplement anyway. So teachers grab materials, they look for other sources. Khan Academy is a huge strategy in math, and they put those together. I go back to delivery though. This is not 100% teacher-led instruction either. A lot of the instruction is going to be through centers, exploration, game type of mentality to challenge students and keep them engaged throughout the school day. We recognize with our school population that we're going to have to work extra hard before school, after school, and even Saturday schools to help students come up. If you look at where Wayne County is currently in their performance. But we also recognize that during the school day, is one of our best opportunities to capitalize on what needs to happen. Sorry about my dog. Sorry about my dog. So we know that we've got to capture them while we have them to help them grow and move forward in their instruction. The science, obviously, is the STC kits that we would be using there. And social studies, there's a neat little book that I was introduced to, the big fat book of everything you need to know about social studies has been used by them consistently, and that's one that we want to explore.
Tom, I don't mean to cut you off, but time's up.
So, I was done. I was done. Sorry.
Okay, good deal. All right. So at this point, Mr. Satterfield, we are going to allow you and your board, whoever would like to pipe in on your behalf, to give us your elevator speech. And please, when you're doing your closing statement, tell us which of the 6 legislative purposes that you intend to accomplish by opening Wayne STEM Academy. So you have 10 minutes to wrap up, and then our board will deliberate.
Well, first, we want to thank you so much for allowing us to present our application and to defend our application. You know, we've worked hard to be transparent throughout our organizational plan and all of our answers and applications. And I think, you know, the legislative purpose that I think is most valuable and most important is that there are currently no STEM models for elementary education in Wayne County. And I think that given the fact that we've got 26 out of 29 schools that are rated C or below, there is a huge demand and a huge need in our city and in our county at large to address kids and families and try to turn around in whatever way. You know, we think this will be just one part of a solution that our community is going to need. And so, you know, we thank you so much for your thoughtful questions. And, you know, I think when the pandemic's over, I think you'll see a lot of gravitation for board members and committee members in our community. We've had a lot of great support in the discussions that we've had so far, and we just look forward to working with them on the ground and working with you in the days ahead to just improve the lives of our citizens and particularly our kids. And so, thank you so much. And with that, we'll conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Satterfield and fellow board members. Okay, so I will open the floor for discussion from the Charter School Advisory Board members.
Madam Chair, I'm going to start. This is Heather Buncan again. I think for me, this application isn't ready. I just don't feel good. I would prefer to see more folks on the board from that area. Also, I really do feel like this is a CMO application, and it was presented as an independent application. Everything that we heard speaks to that. And so I just would rather it come back so we can see all the financials and all the things that come back. If it's going to be set up like a CMO, then we need to see all of the details behind that we request for those types of relationships. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Heather. Others, please.
And the other part I concurs with that. Needs more work. And definitely, I didn't get a full understanding of the possible CMO relationship. I really didn't. And knowing that I've dealt with an EMO, it really has characteristics of a CMO. Hilda Perley.
Hi, this is Cheryl. I concur. I feel like the application itself's not ready, and the relationships are very convoluted and look very, very much like a CMO that doesn't want to call itself a CMO. Everything's the kinds of things that are farmed out or contracted out to a CMO. They're contracting them all out. I feel like this application, that the application itself needs work, and that they need to figure out if this is what they want to do, then they need to apply as a CMO.
This is Rita, and I agree with the comments you've all made. I think they chose an excellent model, and I would like to see something of this nature provided in Wayne County, maybe even if it were only K-5, since there is a School of Engineering, I think, in the area. But I don't think it's ready. We didn't even really talk about their transportation and lunch plans, which we want to develop those out, and some errors in the budget. But overall, I think it's the whole presentation of whether or not they were applying independently and created a lot of confusion. So I agree with you. I don't think we're ready to move this one forward.
Are there any other comments?
I'm ready to make a motion if there are no other comments.
Okay, Ms. Turner, go ahead.
I would move that we do not send Wayne STEM Academy forward at this time.
Any other parlay seconds?
So we've had a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on the motion?
This is Mr. Friend. I'll be honest, I'm torn. I do appreciate all of the comments that my fellow CSAB members are expressing and concerns, and it's not that I don't share those same concerns. I think the board is strong. I think there's, I think the board is strong. I would agree that I think maybe more local representation from Wayne County would help. But I also think that, I just think the board is strong. I think the education plan is you know, I don't have anything jumping out at me glaring. They got a facility, or at least they don't have the facility, but they're working with people who have experience in getting these facilities under contract. Those are my comments. I'm really torn on this right now.
Any further discussion on the motion? The motion is do not move forward.
And just for clarity, Sherry, this is not moving forward at all. This isn't about.
Correct, Bruce. This is not to move the application to the second round. This is just, it stops here. There's no other discussion. Ms. McCara, will you give us a head count?
Yes. Joel Ford,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Nay.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Aye.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Cheryl Turner,
Aye.
Heather Van Cannon,
Aye.
and Alex Quigley. All
Aye.
right, the motion passes.
Mr. Satterfield and fellow board members, I do hope that you will come back, take notes of the questions that we had, tidy up the application, maybe go into a true contract with a CMO. But we hope you will come back. And thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. This time we're at 11:50. We've already done the director's updates, but I'd like to take a motion to go to closed session to consult with our attorneys, if we can make that motion.
Alex, I'll make that motion. We'll go into closed session to consult with our attorney.
Second, Heather Van Cannon.
All right. Moved in second. Any discussion?
I just have
For
I have a
the people
question.
attending is, yes, go ahead.
How do we know where to go?
Well, yeah, I'm curious about that. I was going to ask that. I was also going to note that we would not come back out of closed session following this. Staff, how will we do this? Would you just check shut the live stream off and make sure that there's no one else in the meeting?
Yeah, I can do that. I can, expel anyone who should not be here, and then I need to confirm that live stream is cut off before you begin discussions, because tech is not always in the room. But you can remain on here. Maybe we want to take a 10-minute break so I can deal with that.
And Mr. Chair, we have to also note when the time we go into closed session, and we must come out of closed session to go back into open session to adjourn.
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
The state board routinely will close the meeting with closed session and not return. So I'm
really
quite certain.
What they do is they'll come back out and close, and you just let the public know that there'll be no business discussed. I'm assuming our attorneys are aware of this meeting and are available.
I was under the impression that they were.
Looks like Tiffany's on.
I see Tiffany, but I don't know if
I don't see Tom.
Yeah.
This is Tiffany. I'm going to call Tom now to see if he's available. I'm assuming the motion to go into closed session was the motion to go into closed session to discuss attorney-client privilege information and any active litigation.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So,
do we need a vote?
We will, yes.
No, not to do that.
Really?
No.
Oh, yes, we do.
So I
To
think
go
the
into
motion
closed
was
session.
made. I think the motion was made to go into closed session to discuss attorney-client privilege information, and a vote was taken.
No, we haven't voted yet.
No, we haven't voted.
So we have a motion and a second. We just need to vote.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay, all in favor. Let's vote. All in favor.
Aye.
Okay, done. All right, we voted.
Aye.
And we'll let the public know we will not be coming back out of closed session following. Or we will come out to adjourn, but there will be no other business.
No further business. So Ashley, do you want us to log off or just stay on?
You can stay on, and I will tell you when it's okay to begin closed session.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Lawrence, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm going to text you now, but we need to cut live streaming.
Now, this should only be board members, right?
Correct.
Okay, I see all these other folk on here.
I believe there's staff members.
Not the board.
But staff can be there.
Oh, staff.
Ashley, this is Tiffany. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Tiffany.
Ashley, can you send Tom the call-in information to join this meeting?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone types as fast as I do.
That's me.
That was fast. I play piano. Do you play piano?
Okay, let's see. I'm waiting to hear from tech. I have not heard back from them.